Captain Marcus Chen floated in the command chair of his small survey ship, staring at the endless stars through the main window. The Terran Survey Corps had sent him to map this empty section of space. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. His ship's computer beeped softly, recording another empty star system. Marcus stretched and checked his coffee supply. 3 more days until he could head back to Earth. He was thinking about a hot shower when his sensor array started screaming warnings. A distress signal was coming from somewhere nearby. The signal was weak and strange. Marcus had never heard anything like it before. His computer tried to decode the message but could only pick up fragments. Something about pirates and urgent help needed. Marcus knew he should report this to headquarters first, but the signal was getting weaker by the minute. "Screw the rules," Marcus muttered. He turned his ship toward the signal and pushed the engines to full speed. What he found made his blood run cold. A massive alien ship was under attack by 3 smaller vessels. The attackers were firing everything they had at the bigger ship. Pieces of metal and debris floated everywhere. The alien ship was fighting back, but it was clearly losing. Marcus had never seen ships like these before. The alien vessel was beautiful, with smooth curves and silver plating that gleamed even while being torn apart. The attacking ships looked rough and ugly, covered in spikes and dark metal. Pirates, Marcus thought. They looked like pirates. The alien ship fired a desperate message toward Marcus. His computer managed to translate part of it. "Help, princess. Must survive. Princess?" Marcus felt his heart start beating faster. Someone important was on that ship and they were about to die. He looked at his own small ship with its basic weapons and light armor. Fighting 3 pirate ships was suicide. Any sane person would call for backup and wait. Marcus was not feeling very sane right now. He powered up his weapons and dove into the battle. The pirates were so focused on their target that they did not see him coming. Marcus opened fire on the nearest pirate ship, his lasers cutting deep into its hull. The ship spun away, trailing fire and air. The other 2 pirates turned to face this new threat. Marcus smiled grimly. Now things got interesting. Humans had one big advantage in space combat that most aliens did not expect. Human pilots were absolutely crazy. While other species flew in neat formations and followed proper tactics, humans would try anything. Marcus proved this by doing something no alien pilot would ever attempt. He flew straight into an asteroid field. The pirates followed him, firing desperately. But Marcus knew something they did not. Humans had been flying through asteroid fields for hundreds of years. They had learned that the secret was not avoiding the rocks but using them. Marcus spun his ship between 2 massive asteroids, using their gravity to slingshot himself around at impossible speeds. One pirate ship tried to follow and smashed into a rock the size of a city. The other pirate found Marcus waiting behind an asteroid, all weapons ready. The battle was over in minutes. Marcus quickly flew back to the alien ship. It was badly damaged, with atmosphere leaking from dozens of holes. He docked his ship to theirs and grabbed his emergency medical kit. Whatever was in there, they needed help fast. The airlock opened to reveal a group of tall, elegant aliens with blue-silver skin and large golden eyes. They wore what looked like military uniforms, but much fancier than anything Marcus had ever seen. One of them stepped forward and spoke in accented but clear English. "I am Commander Thane of the Zephyrian Royal Guard. You have saved the life of Princess Lirelai, heir to the Zephyrian Empire. We are forever in your debt." Marcus looked past the commander and saw her. The princess was tall and graceful, even while bleeding from a head wound. Her skin had a metallic sheen that caught the light, and her eyes were the color of liquid gold. She was the most beautiful person Marcus had ever seen. Human or otherwise. "Is she hurt?" Marcus asked, opening his medical kit. "The princess took a head injury when the bridge was hit," Commander Thane said. "Our medical officer was killed in the attack." Marcus moved forward with his scanner. Human medical technology was designed to work on unknown alien species just in case. The scanner beeped happily as it analyzed the princess's biology. "Good news," Marcus said, pulling out a healing gel. "This should work on your species. The wound is not serious, but she has a concussion." He carefully applied the gel to the princess's forehead. She winced but did not pull away. Her golden eyes stayed fixed on his face the whole time. "You are human," she said softly. It was not a question. "Yes, Your Highness, Captain Marcus Chen of the Terran Survey Corps." "I have heard stories about humans," Princess Lirelai said. "They say you are all insane." Marcus grinned. "They are probably right, but sometimes insane is what you need." The princess actually smiled at that. It was a small smile, but it made Marcus feel warm inside. Commander Thane was less amused. "Captain Chen, our ship is badly damaged. Can you help us reach Zephyrian space?" Marcus looked around at the destroyed bridge. Half the control panels were dark and he could hear air hissing through damaged seals. "Your ship is not going anywhere. But my ship can carry a few passengers." "How many survivors?" 12, Thane said grimly. "We lost 18 good soldiers today." Marcus nodded. His ship was small, but it could manage 12 extra people for a few days. "We can make it to your home system, but it will be cramped." "We accept your generous offer," Princess Lyreley said formally. The Zephyrian Empire will not forget this kindness. As they transferred the survivors to Marcus's ship, he could not help but notice how the Zephyrians moved. They were graceful and careful, like dancers or professional fighters. Everything they did had purpose and dignity. Marcus felt a bit clumsy around them. The princess insisted on being the last to leave her damaged ship. She stood in the ruined bridge for a long moment, looking at the bodies of her fallen guards. Marcus waited quietly nearby. "They died protecting me," she said finally. "They died doing their duty," Marcus replied. "That means something." Princess Lyreley looked at him with surprise. "You understand honor." "Humans know about duty and sacrifice," Marcus said. "We might be crazy, but we are not without honor." During the 3-day journey to Zephyrian space, Marcus learned a lot about his passengers. The Zephyrians were warriors, but they were also poets and artists. They valued courage in battle, but also wisdom in peace. Princess Lyreley was being groomed to rule an empire that spanned dozens of star systems. Marcus also learned that the princess was not like other royals he had read about in Earth's history. She was smart and tough, asking detailed questions about human technology and tactics. She wanted to know how Marcus had defeated 3 pirate ships with 1 small vessel. "Humans think differently," Marcus explained. "We do not follow the rules when the rules will get us killed." "Your tactics were very effective," the princess said, "but also very dangerous." "Everything worth doing is dangerous," Marcus replied. On the final day of the journey, Princess Lyreley asked Marcus to join her in the small observation lounge. Through the window they could see the Zephyrian home system growing larger. "Captain Chen," she said formally, "when we reach my world, my father will want to reward you for saving my life. What do you desire? Wealth, technology, a ship?" Marcus thought about it. "Honestly, I just want to go home and file my report. Maybe get a medal I can show my mom." The princess stared at him. "You risked your life to save a stranger, and all you want is a medal for your mother?" "My mom would be proud," Marcus said simply. "That matters to me." Princess Lyreley was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "I think my father is going to like you, Captain Chen. That might be a problem." Marcus did not understand what she meant. He would learn soon enough. As they approached the Zephyrian homeworld, Marcus saw a planet covered in crystal cities that gleamed like jewels. Hundreds of ships moved in perfect formations around orbital stations that looked like works of art. It was the most beautiful thing Marcus had ever seen. It was also the most intimidating. "Welcome to Zephyr Prime," Princess Lyreley said. "My home." Marcus looked at the massive fleet of warships moving to escort them to the planet. Each ship was 10 times the size of his little survey vessel. He had saved a princess, but he was starting to realize that might have been the easy part. The real adventure was just beginning. The royal palace of Zephyr Prime was bigger than most Earth cities. Marcus stood on the landing platform, trying not to stare at the crystal towers that stretched into the clouds. Thousands of Zephyrians lined the streets below, cheering for their returned princess. The sound echoed off the palace walls like thunder. "Nervous, Captain?" Princess Lyreley asked softly. Marcus adjusted his uniform and tried to look confident. "Just a little overwhelmed. I expected a thank you and maybe lunch. This feels like something bigger." The princess gave him a look that might have been pity. "My father does nothing small, Captain Chen. You saved the heir to the Empire. In Zephyrian culture, that makes you a hero." Commander Thane approached them, looking much better in a fresh uniform. "Captain Chen, Emperor Vorthak will see you now. Remember to bow when you enter. Speak only when spoken to and show proper respect." Marcus nodded, though he was not sure what proper respect meant to an alien emperor. On Earth, he would salute and stand at attention. He hoped that would be enough. The throne room was massive, with walls made of some kind of glowing crystal that changed colors as they walked. Hundreds of Zephyrian nobles lined both sides of the room, all wearing elaborate robes and jewelry. Their golden eyes followed Marcus as he walked down the center aisle. Emperor Vorthak sat on a throne that looked like it was carved from a single enormous diamond. He was tall even for a Zephyrian, with silver streaks in his dark hair and scars on his arms that spoke of old battles. When he looked at Marcus, his golden eyes seemed to see right through him. Marcus stopped in front of the throne and gave his best military salute. The Emperor studied him for a long moment, then smiled. "So," Emperor Vorthak said in a voice like distant thunder, "you are the human who saved my daughter." "Yes, Your Majesty. Captain Marcus Chen of the Terran Survey Corps. Tell me, Captain Chen, do you know what the penalty is for allowing harm to come to a member of the royal family?" Marcus felt cold sweat on his back. "No, Your Majesty." "Death," the Emperor said simply. "Slow, painful death. My guards know this. My commanders know this. Yet somehow pirates attacked my daughter's ship and killed 18 of her protectors." His voice grew louder. "But one small human ship defeated 3 pirate vessels and brought her home safely." The Emperor stood up, towering over Marcus. "This tells me that either my warriors are cowards or humans are extraordinary fighters. Which do you think it is?" Marcus thought carefully. This felt like a test. "Your Majesty, your warriors fought bravely. They died protecting the princess. But humans fight differently. We don't always follow the rules." "Show me," the Emperor commanded. Suddenly, 3 Zephyrian guards stepped forward, drawing curved swords that gleamed with energy. Marcus tensed, ready to fight or run. Then he noticed they were offering him a weapon. "A demonstration," Emperor Vorthak explained. "Show my court how humans fight." Marcus took the offered sword. It was heavier than he expected, but the balance was good. The 3 guards spread out around him, moving like dancers. They attacked at the same time, their swords whistling through the air. Marcus did not try to block all 3 attacks. Instead, he dove forward, rolling between 2 of the guards and coming up behind them. He spun and struck the 3rd guard's sword out of his hands, then pressed his blade to the guard's throat. The other 2 guards froze, staring. The entire court was silent. "Interesting," Emperor Vorthak said. Again. This time the guards were ready for tricks. They stayed close together and advanced slowly. Marcus let them come, then did something no Zephyrian would expect. He threw his sword at one guard, forcing him to duck, then tackled another guard and used him as a shield against the 3rd. It was not elegant or dignified. It was effective enough, the Emperor said, laughing. "I see why 3 ships could not defeat 1 human pilot. You fight like the universe is trying to kill you." "The universe usually is trying to kill us," Marcus replied, breathing hard. "We've learned to fight back." Emperor Vorthak nodded approvingly. "Captain Chen, you have proven yourself worthy of the highest honor the Zephyrian Empire can bestow. You will marry my daughter and become Prince Consort of the realm." The throne room erupted in cheers. Marcus felt like he had been hit by a truck. "Your Majesty," Marcus said quickly, "I'm honored, but I can't marry the princess. We barely know each other." "Marriage should be a choice, not a reward." The cheering stopped. Every Zephyrian in the room stared at Marcus like he had grown a second head. Emperor Vorthak looked confused. "You refuse the greatest honor in the Empire? You refuse my daughter?" "I'm not refusing Princess Lyrelei," Marcus said desperately. "She's wonderful. But marriage is about love, not politics. Humans choose their own partners." Princess Lyrelei stepped forward. Her face was calm, but Marcus could see anger in her golden eyes. "Are you saying I'm not suitable as a wife?" "No. I'm saying we should get to know each other first. Maybe go on some dates. See if we're compatible." "Dates?" Emperor Vorthak looked even more confused. Commander Thane whispered something in the Emperor's ear. The Emperor's eyebrows went up. "Ah," the Emperor said. "Humans have courtship rituals." "How charmingly primitive." "Very well, Captain Chen. You may court my daughter properly. But know this. By saving her life in battle, you have claimed her according to our oldest laws. The marriage will happen." Marcus wanted to argue, but the look on Princess Lyrelei's face stopped him. She looked hurt and embarrassed. He realized he had just rejected her in front of her entire court. "Your Majesty," Marcus said carefully, "perhaps the princess and I could speak privately." "An excellent idea," the Emperor boomed. "Get to know each other. Plan your wedding. The ceremony will be in 1 month." After the formal reception, Princess Lyrelei led Marcus to a private garden behind the palace. Crystal fountains filled the air with music and alien flowers glowed softly in the twilight. It should have been romantic, but the princess looked ready to throw him into the fountain. "So," she said coldly, "I am not good enough for the great human hero." "That's not what I meant," Marcus protested. "You're amazing. You're beautiful and smart and brave. Any man would be lucky to marry you, but not you." Marcus sat down on a crystal bench and rubbed his forehead. "It's not about you. It's about choice. On Earth, we believe people should choose who they love. Arranged marriages are considered old-fashioned." Princess Lyra sat down beside him, her anger fading into curiosity. "What is love like for humans?" Marcus thought about it. "Love is when you care more about someone else's happiness than your own. When you want to be with them not because you have to, but because they make you a better person. When you choose them every day, not just once." "That sounds nice," the princess said softly. "But Zephyrian royalty does not usually have that luxury. We marry for politics, for alliances, for the good of the empire." "Have you ever been in love?" Marcus asked. She was quiet for a long time. "There was someone once, a young commander in my father's fleet. He was brave and kind, and he made me laugh. But he was not royal. My father sent him to a distant posting when he learned of our feelings. I'm sorry. It is the way of things," Princess Lyra said. "But tell me, Captain Chen, if you could choose freely, what kind of woman would you want to marry?" Marcus looked at her in the soft light of the alien flowers. Someone who isn't afraid to speak her mind. Someone who can take care of herself but doesn't mind having help sometimes. Someone who understands duty but isn't crushed by it. Someone with golden eyes and silver skin who saves my life just by smiling. Princess Lyra turned to stare at him. "Captain Chen, call me Marcus. And I know this is crazy, but maybe we could try getting to know each other. Not as political allies, but as people. See if we actually like each other. And if we don't," she asked, "then we'll figure something else out. Maybe your father will let me marry one of his generals instead." That made her laugh, a sound like crystal bells. "I think you would look terrible in a wedding dress." Over the next few days, Marcus learned that the palace was more like a small city. There were gardens and libraries, training halls and workshops. Princess Lyra showed him around, explaining Zephyrian culture and history. Marcus was amazed by how advanced their civilization was. They had art forms that used light itself as a medium. Their scientists could manipulate gravity and time. But what impressed him most was the princess herself. She was not just a royal figurehead. She actively studied military strategy, economics, and diplomacy. She spoke 6 languages and could pilot a starship as well as any trained officer. She was being prepared to rule an empire, and she was ready for the job. "Your people are lucky to have you," Marcus told her after watching her settle a dispute between 2 noble houses with wisdom and fairness. "I hope I will be worthy of their trust," she replied. "Leadership is a burden as much as an honor." Marcus was also getting to know the Zephyrian court. The nobles were polite to him, but he could feel their curiosity and suspicion. Some thought he was a barbarian who had gotten lucky. Others wondered if humans might be a threat to the empire. A few seemed genuinely interested in learning about Earth culture. "They talk about you constantly," Princess Lyra told him one evening. "Half the court thinks you are a brilliant military strategist. The other half thinks you are completely insane." "They're both right," Marcus said. "Human tactics probably look crazy to people who fight with honor and rules." "Show me," she said suddenly. "Show you what?" Marcus woke up to the sound of ceremonial horns echoing through the palace. He groaned and checked the time. It was barely dawn, but the entire palace seemed to be buzzing with activity. When he opened his door, a servant was waiting with formal clothes and a nervous expression. "Captain Chen," the servant said with a bow, "Emperor Vorthak requests your immediate presence in the Hall of Trials." Marcus felt his stomach drop. "Trials? What trials?" "The Emperor will explain, sir." "Please hurry." The Hall of Trials was a massive circular arena with crystal walls that rose up like a cathedral. Hundreds of Zephyrian nobles filled the viewing galleries, all talking excitedly. In the center of the arena stood Emperor Vorthak, Princess Lyra, and a group of the largest, most intimidating Zephyrian warriors Marcus had ever seen. Captain Chen," the Emperor called out as Marcus approached. "I trust you slept well?" "Good. We have much to accomplish today." "Your Majesty," Marcus said carefully, "what exactly are we accomplishing?" Emperor Vorthak smiled, but it was not a reassuring smile. "Yesterday you refused my daughter's hand in marriage. You claimed that humans value choice over honor. This has caused quite a stir among my nobles. Marcus glanced at Princess Lyrelay. She looked worried but determined. I don't understand, Your Majesty. Some of my court believe you rejected my daughter because you think she is weak, the Emperor continued. Others think you rejected her because you yourself are weak. Both suggestions are insulting to the royal family. That's not why Marcus started. The Emperor held up a hand for silence. I have decided to settle this matter once and for all. You will face my greatest champions in single combat. If you prove yourself worthy through strength and courage, the marriage will proceed with honor. If you prove yourself unworthy, the Emperor shrugged, then my daughter deserves better than a coward. Marcus looked at the 7 warriors standing in the arena. Each one was built like a professional athlete, and armed with weapons that looked both beautiful and deadly. They were all staring at him with expressions that suggested they would enjoy tearing him apart. And if I refuse to fight? Marcus asked. Then you admit cowardice and dishonor my daughter, Emperor Vorthak said simply. You will be escorted from the Empire in shame. Marcus felt trapped. He could not fight 7 trained warriors and win. He was good, but he was not superhuman. On the other hand, running away would destroy any chance of an alliance between Earth and the Zephyrian Empire. It might also get Princess Lyrelay in trouble with her father. Very well, Marcus said. I accept your challenge. But I have one request. Speak. Let me fight them one at a time, not all at once. Give me a chance to prove myself fairly. Emperor Vorthak nodded. Agreed. You will face each champion separately. Defeat them all and you prove your worth. Lose to any one of them and you prove your unworthiness. As the first champion stepped forward, Princess Lyrelay grabbed Marcus's arm. You don't have to do this, she whispered urgently. I can convince my father. No, Marcus said quietly. If I run from this, everyone will think humans are cowards. That won't help your people or mine. The princess looked into his eyes and saw his determination. Then fight well, my warrior. And try not to die. I am just starting to like you. The first champion was a giant named Corax who carried a sword as long as Marcus was tall. He moved with the fluid grace of a trained duelist, his blade cutting patterns in the air that were almost hypnotic. The crowd cheered as he saluted the Emperor. Marcus picked up his own sword and tried to remember everything he had learned about Zephyrian fighting styles. They valued elegance and precision. They fought with honor and followed ancient traditions. They were expecting him to do the same. Marcus had no intention of being honorable. When Corax advanced with a perfect textbook thrust, Marcus did something no Zephyrian would ever expect. He dropped his sword, grabbed a handful of sand from the arena floor and threw it in Corax's eyes. The crowd gasped in shock. Corax stumbled backward, blinded and confused. Marcus picked up his sword and struck the flat of his blade against Corax's wrist, forcing him to drop his weapon. Before the champion could recover, Marcus had his sword point at Corax's throat. Yield, Marcus said quietly. Corax yielded, looking more bewildered than defeated. The crowd was silent, not sure what they had just witnessed. Interesting technique, Emperor Vorthak observed. Champion Theron, you are next. The second champion was faster than the first. Theron fought with 2 curved blades that moved like silver lightning. He attacked Marcus from all angles, forcing him to retreat across the arena floor. The crowd cheered as Theron pressed his advantage. Marcus let himself be driven back until he was against the arena wall. Theron saw his chance and lunged forward for the killing blow. At the last second, Marcus dropped flat and rolled between Theron's legs. The champion's blade struck the crystal wall and stuck fast. While Theron struggled to free his weapons, Marcus tackled him from behind and put him in a chokehold. It was not elegant, but it worked. Theron went limp and Marcus gently lowered him to the arena floor. Victory by submission, Marcus announced. The third champion was smart enough to expect tricks. Velen fought defensively, keeping his distance and watching for any dirty moves. He was patient and careful, exactly the kind of opponent Marcus had the most trouble with. So Marcus decided to make him impatient. Is this how the great champions of Zephyr fight? Marcus called out loudly. Standing around waiting for something to happen? I've seen children with more courage. Velen's golden eyes flashed with anger. You dare insult the honor of the royal guard? I dare question whether you have any honor to insult, Marcus replied. Are you a warrior or a statue? That did it. Velen charged forward with a roar of rage, his massive warhammer whistling through the air. Marcus waited until the last possible moment, then stepped aside and used Velen's own momentum to send him crashing into the arena wall. The crowd was getting louder now. Some were cheering for Marcus, others were calling him a cheat. Marcus did not care. He was fighting for his life and for the future of human-Zephyrian relations. The fourth and fifth champions learned from their predecessors' mistakes. They fought carefully and kept their tempers under control. But Marcus had advantages they did not expect. Human reflexes were faster than Zephyrian ones. Human endurance was better, and humans were used to fighting dirty. Marcus won the fourth fight by using his opponent's ceremonial cape to tangle his sword arm. He won the fifth fight by pretending to stumble, then sweeping his opponent's legs when the champion moved in for an easy victory. By the time the sixth champion stepped forward, the crowd was evenly split between those cheering for Marcus and those calling for his blood. Marcus was exhausted and bleeding from several minor cuts, but he was still standing. The sixth champion was different from the others. Commander Zarek was older, scarred from many battles, and smart enough to study his opponent. He did not rush in or fight with flashy moves. He simply advanced steadily, his sword work precise and economical. This was the fight Marcus had been dreading. Zarek was too experienced to fall for tricks and too disciplined to lose his temper. For the first time, Marcus found himself being pushed back by superior skill. Zarek's blade cut through Marcus's guard and opened a gash on his arm. The crowd cheered as blood ran down Marcus's sword hand, making his grip slippery. Zarek pressed his advantage, driving Marcus back with a series of perfect attacks. Marcus realized he was going to lose this fight unless he did something desperate. He looked around the arena, searching for anything he could use. Then he saw Princess Lyralee in the royal box, her golden eyes wide with worry. That gave him an idea. Instead of retreating, Marcus suddenly charged forward, ignoring Zarek's blade as it cut across his shoulder. He tackled the champion around the waist and they both went down in a tangle of arms and legs. They wrestled on the arena floor, each trying to pin the other. Zarek was stronger, but Marcus was more flexible. He managed to get behind the champion and wrap his arm around Zarek's throat. It was the same chokehold he had used on Theron, but Zarek was ready for it. He grabbed Marcus's arm and threw him over his shoulder. Marcus hit the ground hard but rolled to his feet just as Zarek lunged for him with a knife he had drawn from his boot. Marcus caught the champion's wrist and they struggled for control of the blade. They were face to face, both straining with effort. "You fight well for a human," Zarek gasped. "You fight well for someone who's about to lose," Marcus replied. He shifted his weight suddenly and used a move Princess Lyralee had taught him during their training session. Zarek found himself flat on his back with Marcus's knee on his chest and his own knife at his throat. "Yield," Marcus said, breathing hard. Zarek looked into Marcus's eyes and saw something that made him smile. "I yield to a worthy opponent." The crowd erupted in cheers as Marcus helped Zarek to his feet. 6 champions defeated, 1 to go. Marcus looked up at the final challenger and felt his heart sink. The 7th champion was Princess Lyralee herself. She stood in the arena wearing combat armor that gleamed like starlight. Her sword was a work of art, its blade inscribed with ancient Zephyrian runes. How humans fig. 3 weeks had passed since the trials, and Marcus was beginning to understand what it meant to be engaged to an alien princess. Every day brought new lessons in Zephyrian customs, language, and politics. He spent mornings learning diplomatic protocol, and afternoons training with the royal guard. His evenings belonged to Princess Lyralee, who seemed determined to teach him everything about her people. "The wedding is in 1 week," she said as they walked through the palace gardens. "Are you nervous?" Marcus considered the question. "Terrified," he admitted. "I keep thinking I'm going to accidentally start a war by using the wrong fork at dinner." Princess Lyralee laughed. "The forks are the least of your worries. Wait until you meet my Aunt Valara. She thinks humans are barely evolved animals who should not be allowed in polite society." "Great. Something to look forward to." Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of running feet. Commander Thane appeared on the garden path, his face grim with worry. He saluted quickly. "Princess Captain Chen, His Majesty requests your immediate presence in the war room. We have received disturbing intelligence." The war room was located deep beneath the palace, its walls lined with tactical displays and communication equipment. Emperor Vorthak stood before a massive holographic map of the galaxy, his expression darker than Marcus had ever seen it. Around the table sat the Empire's top military commanders, all looking troubled. "Ah, Captain Chen," the Emperor said without turning around. "Perfect timing. Tell me, what do you know about the hegemony?" Marcus searched his memory. Earth's first contact protocols included basic information about major galactic powers. They're a militaristic alliance of several species. Very aggressive. They've been expanding their territory for the past century. Indeed, Emperor Vorthak said grimly, and now they have turned their attention to the Zephyrian Empire. The holographic map zoomed in to show the border regions between Zephyrian and hegemony space. Red markers indicated hegemony fleet movements, and there were a lot of them. Intelligence reports suggest they are massing for a major offensive, Admiral Corvin explained. At least 300 warships, possibly more. Marcus studied the display. How many ships do you have? 250, Princess Lyreley said quietly. And our ships are individually superior, but the hegemony has advantages in numbers and logistics. What kind of advantages? Marcus asked. Admiral Corvin manipulated the display to show fleet compositions. The hegemony uses automated drone ships to supplement their manned vessels. They can replace losses quickly and fight without regard for casualties. Our warriors are brave, but we cannot match their production capacity. Marcus felt a chill as he realized what this meant. They're going to overwhelm you with numbers. Precisely, Emperor Vorthak said. Traditional Zephyrian tactics emphasize individual skill and honor in combat. We fight as heroes, winning through superior training and courage, but the hegemony fights as a machine, grinding down opposition through sheer weight of numbers. When will they attack? Marcus asked. Soon, the Emperor replied. Our spies report that their fleets are already moving into position. We have perhaps 2 weeks before they reach our outer colonies. Marcus looked around the room at the Zephyrian commanders. They were brave and skilled, but he could see the worry in their golden eyes. They were facing an enemy that could not be defeated through individual heroics. Your Majesty, Marcus said carefully, have you considered asking for help? Other galactic powers might be willing to assist if the hegemony threatens them too. We have sent diplomatic messages, Princess Lyreley said. The response has been disappointing. Most governments are afraid of the hegemony. They hope that if they stay neutral, they will be left alone. What about Earth? Marcus asked. Have you contacted the Terran government? Emperor Vorthak shook his head. Your people are new to galactic politics and have no significant military presence in this region. What could Earth offer against 300 warships? Marcus thought about that. Earth's space fleet was small compared to the galactic powers, but humans had something most aliens lacked: experience with total warfare. Earth had fought 2 world wars and dozens of smaller conflicts. Humans knew how to fight when survival was at stake. Your Majesty, Marcus said, I'd like to send a message to Earth. Not asking for ships, but asking for advisors. Humans have a lot of experience with the kind of warfare you're facing. Admiral Corvin looked skeptical. What could human advisors teach us that we do not already know? How to fight dirty, Marcus replied. How to win when you're outnumbered and outgunned. How to make the enemy pay for every victory until they decide the cost is too high. Emperor Vorthak considered this. Send your message, Captain Chen. At this point, we need all the help we can get. Over the next few days, Marcus worked with the Zephyrian military staff to analyze the coming threat. The more he learned, the more worried he became. The hegemony was not just numerous, they were efficient. Their battle doctrine was designed to minimize their losses while maximizing enemy casualties. They would strike hard and fast, then retreat before the Zephyrians could respond effectively. They're not trying to win glorious battles, Marcus explained to Princess Lyreley as they studied tactical reports. They're trying to win the war through attrition. Every fight weakens your forces while theirs remain strong. So how do we stop them? She asked. Marcus pointed to the display showing hegemony supply lines. We make them fight on our terms instead of theirs. Instead of meeting their fleets in open battle, we hit their logistics. Supply ships, communication relays, repair facilities, force them to spread out to defend everything. That sounds like guerrilla warfare, Princess Lyreley observed. Exactly. It's not glorious, but it works. The princess frowned. My father's admirals will not like this strategy. Zephyrian military tradition values direct confrontation and honorable battle. Sometimes honor has to take second place to survival, Marcus said. Your people are too valuable to waste in hopeless battles. Princess Lyreley was quiet for a moment. You really think we cannot win through traditional tactics? Marcus showed her the force projections he had been working on. In a straight fight, you might win the first few battles, But the hegemony can replace their losses and you cannot. Eventually, they will wear you down. Unless we change the rules of the game, she said, understanding. Exactly. Their planning was interrupted by urgent alarms throughout the palace. Emperor Vorthak's voice echoed through the communication system. All senior staff to the war room immediately. The hegemony has begun their attack. When Marcus and Princess Lirelei reached the war room, they found chaos. The tactical displays showed red markers throughout Zephyrian space, as hegemony fleets struck multiple targets simultaneously. The outer colonies were under attack and distress calls were coming in from dozens of worlds. Report, Emperor Vorthak commanded. Admiral Corvin looked haggard. They hit us everywhere at once. 7 different fleets attacking 13 colony worlds. Our response fleets are scattered, trying to defend everyone. Casualties? The Emperor asked grimly. Too early to tell, but the colonies are taking heavy damage. They have orbital bombardment ships. Marcus felt sick. This was not a military campaign, it was extermination. The hegemony was not trying to conquer Zephyrian worlds, they were destroying them. Your Majesty, Marcus said urgently, you have to pull back your fleets. This is a trap. Explain, Emperor Vorthak ordered. Marcus manipulated the tactical display to show fleet movements. Look at the pattern. They're attacking targets that force you to spread your forces thin. When your fleets arrive to defend the colonies, they'll be outnumbered and destroyed piecemeal. You suggest we abandon our people? Admiral Corvin demanded angrily. I suggest you save them, Marcus replied. Evacuate who you can, but don't sacrifice your fleets in hopeless battles. You need those ships to win the war. The captain is right, Princess Lirelei said suddenly. Father, if we lose our fleets defending the colonies, we lose everything. The hegemony is counting on our honor to make us act predictably. Emperor Vorthak stared at the tactical display, watching as red markers advanced deeper into his empire. His people were dying, and every instinct told him to rush to their defense. Give the order, he said finally. All fleets are to evacuate civilian populations and fall back to defensive positions. We will make our stand at the inner colonies. Admiral Corvin looked shocked. Your Majesty, we cannot simply abandon. We are not abandoning anyone, the Emperor said firmly. We are choosing to fight smart instead of fighting proud. Captain Chen, I am placing you in charge of developing our new battle strategy. Princess Lirelei will serve as your liaison with the military staff. Marcus felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. An entire empire was counting on him to find a way to defeat an enemy that outnumbered them. He looked at Princess Lirelei and saw trust and determination in her golden eyes. We'll find a way, he promised. As the hegemony fleets advanced and the Zephyrian forces retreated, Marcus worked frantically to develop a new kind of warfare for a people who had never needed to fight dirty. He studied hegemony tactics, looking for weaknesses. He analyzed their supply chains and communication networks. Most importantly, he began to teach Zephyrian commanders how humans fought when their backs were against the wall. It was going to be the hardest battle of his life, and he was not even sure it could be won. The wedding of Princess Lirelei and Captain Marcus Chen was supposed to be the grandest celebration in Zephyrian history. Instead, it took place in the palace war room with the sound of distant explosions echoing through the crystal walls. The hegemony fleet had reached the capital system, and the final battle for the Empire was about to begin. Do you, Marcus Chen of Earth, take Princess Lirelei of Zephyr as your wife, to stand with her in peace and war, in joy and sorrow, until the stars themselves grow cold? The elderly priest's voice was steady despite the chaos outside. I do, Marcus said, looking into Princess Lyrelei's golden eyes. She was wearing her wedding dress over combat armor, and she had never looked more beautiful. Do you, Princess Lirelei of Zephyr, take Marcus Chen of Earth as your husband, to stand with him in peace and war, in joy and sorrow, until the stars themselves grow cold? I do, she replied firmly, for better or worse, in victory or defeat. Then by the ancient laws of Zephyr and the bonds of love, I pronounce you husband and wife. They kissed quickly as alarms blared throughout the palace. Emperor Vorthak, now Marcus's father-in-law, clapped him on the shoulder. Congratulations on your marriage, my son. Now let us see if you can save my empire. The past 3 weeks had been a nightmare of fighting retreats and desperate evacuations. Marcus's unconventional tactics had slowed the hegemony advance, but they could not stop it. Zephyrian forces had won several small victories using human-style guerrilla warfare, but the enemy kept coming with overwhelming numbers. Status report, Marcus called out as he and Lyrelai took their positions at the command table. His new wife had proven to be an excellent military strategist, adapting human tactics to Zephyrian capabilities with frightening efficiency. Admiral Corvin looked exhausted. The hegemony main fleet is 6 hours out. 400 ships, including their new dreadnoughts. Our defensive fleet has 180 ships remaining. Marcus studied the tactical display. The odds were worse than he had feared. What about the evacuation? Civilian populations have been moved to the inner system. But if we lose this battle, there is nowhere left to run. Marcus nodded grimly. This was it, the final test of everything he had tried to teach the Zephyrians. Either his tactics would work against impossible odds, or they would all die together. Signal from Earth Fleet, the communications officer announced. They are requesting permission to join the battle. Marcus looked up in surprise. Earth Fleet? What Earth Fleet? Emperor Vorthak smiled for the first time in weeks. A wedding gift from your government. 50 ships arrived this morning under the command of Admiral Sarah Chen. I believe she is your sister? Marcus felt his heart leap. Sarah was here, his brilliant older sister, the naval tactician who had taught him half of everything he knew about space combat. Permission granted. Signal them to join our formation. Over the next few hours, Marcus worked with both Zephyrian and Earth commanders to prepare for the coming battle. The plan was desperate but simple. Use every dirty trick in the human playbook to make the hegemony pay for their victory. Remember, Marcus told the assembled captains, we're not trying to win a glorious battle. We're trying to make them quit. Every ship they lose costs them resources they can't easily replace. Every casualty makes their leaders question whether this war is worth fighting. And if they don't quit? Asked Captain Thane, who now commanded a destroyer. Then we make them regret ever hearing the name human, Princess Lyrelai said coldly. They want to destroy our people? Let them learn what happens when you threaten something a human loves. When the hegemony fleet arrived, they found the Zephyrian capital system apparently undefended. The main asteroid belt was empty. The orbital stations were dark, and there were no ships visible on sensors. It looked like the defenders had fled in panic. Marcus watched from his hidden position behind a gas giant's moon as the enemy fleet spread out to begin their bombardment. The hegemony commander was being cautious but predictable, following standard doctrine for planetary assault. All units, Marcus broadcast on the encrypted channel, execute Crazy Ivan. The asteroid belt came alive with hidden ships. Hundreds of Zephyrian and Earth vessels that had been disguised as Space Orcs suddenly powered up their engines and weapons. The first wave of attacks hit the surprised hegemony fleet from all directions at once. Marcus had learned this tactic from studying Earth's naval history. During World War II, human submarines had hidden among ice floes and wreckage to ambush enemy convoys. The principle was the same. Make yourself invisible until it was too late for the enemy to react. The hegemony fleet reeled under the surprise attack, losing dozens of ships in the first minutes of combat. But they were professional soldiers, and they adapted quickly. Their formation tightened, and they began to fight back with devastating efficiency. Phase 2, Marcus ordered. Hit and run. The human and Zephyrian ships scattered like a school of fish, using the debris and asteroid fields to break up the enemy formation. Instead of standing and fighting, they darted in to attack isolated groups of hegemony ships, then disappeared before reinforcements could arrive. This was pure human tactics. Avoid fair fights, strike weak points, and never give the enemy a chance to use their superior numbers effectively. The Zephyrians had been skeptical at first, but now they fought with the desperate creativity of their human allies. Hegemony dreadnought approaching the planet, Admiral Corvin reported. They're preparing to begin orbital bombardment. Marcus felt cold anger in his chest. That ship was going to kill millions of innocent civilians. Princess, take Squadron 7 and stop that dreadnought. It's too heavily armed, Lyrelai protested. We'll be destroyed before we get close. Not if you don't fight fair, Marcus replied. He quickly outlined his plan. It was insane even by human standards, but it might work. Princess Lyrelai listened, then smiled grimly. I married a madman. Squadron 7, follow me. We're going to ram a dreadnought. What followed was the most audacious attack in military history. Princess Lyrelai led her squadron in a direct assault on the massive hegemony dreadnought. But instead of attacking its weapons, they targeted its engines. Working together, the small ships used their combined firepower to cripple the dreadnought's propulsion system. Then, while the giant ship spun helplessly, Princess Lyrelei did something no sane pilot would attempt. She flew her ship directly into the dreadnought's launch bay and detonated its reactor inside the enemy vessel. The explosion tore the dreadnought apart from the inside. Princess Lyrelei barely escaped in an emergency pod, but the threat to the planet was eliminated. That, announced Admiral Sarah Chen over the radio, was the craziest thing I've ever seen, and I'm related to Marcus. The battle raged for 6 more hours. Using human tactics and desperate courage, the Allied fleet managed to destroy or disable nearly half the hegemony force. But their own losses were severe, and Marcus knew they could not win a war of attrition. Then something unexpected happened. The surviving hegemony ships began to withdraw. "They're retreating," Admiral Corvin said in amazement. "After all this, they're running away." Marcus studied the tactical display, trying to understand. The hegemony still outnumbered the defenders. They could have won if they had been willing to accept heavy casualties. "Signal from the hegemony flagship," the communications officer announced. "They're requesting a ceasefire to discuss terms." Marcus looked at Princess Lyrelei in surprise. "Terms? What terms?" The answer came an hour later when the hegemony commander, a massive reptilian alien named General Krex, appeared on the main screen. His scaled face showed a mixture of respect and wariness. "Captain Chen," General Krex said formally, "I congratulate you on a well-fought battle. Your tactics were unconventional." "Thank you, General. I take it you want to discuss surrender terms?" General Krex's laugh was like grinding stone. "Surrender? No, Captain. I want to discuss an alliance." The war room fell silent. Emperor Vorthak leaned forward in his chair. "Explain." "The hegemony has fought many wars of conquest," General Krex said. "We are used to enemies who fight with honor and predictability. Your forces fight like demons. Every victory costs us more than we can afford to lose." Marcus began to understand. "You're afraid that if you conquer the Zephyrian Empire, other species will learn our tactics." "Precisely. If human-style warfare spreads throughout the galaxy, it will make conquest much more expensive. The Hegemony Council has decided that it would be better to have humans as allies than enemies." Princess Lyrelei spoke up. "What kind of alliance?" "Mutual defense and trade agreements. The hegemony will recognize Zephyrian sovereignty and human territorial claims. In exchange, you will not teach your warfare techniques to our other enemies." Marcus looked around the war room at the tired faces of the defenders. They had won, but barely. The hegemony was offering them a chance to secure peace without further bloodshed. "We'll need to discuss this with Earth's government," Marcus said finally. "Of course. But understand, Captain Chen, this offer comes because we respect your strength, not your weakness. If humanity proves to be as formidable in diplomacy as in war,